SuperTalk Mississippi media production.
OCH Regional Medical Center in Starkville provides quality care delivered with compassion, empathy, and genuine concern. We don't just treat you as a patient, we treat you like family.
All right, let's do this. Hey there, how y'all doing? Scott Sands in for Richard Cross this morning on SuperTalk Mississippi, streaming everywhere at supertalk.fm. Lance, I see you took one of the C-Spire text line suggestions from last week for a little Metallica to start us off.
Had to, man. Enter Sandman. We got Sands in on Friday. I'm excited. So
I got to tell you, though, I like the blues song that you normally lead off with.
Yeah. Well, I just took the advice of the listener this one time and decided to just juggle a little bit and do something different for you.
I
it wasn't guiding
that.
light, so, you know.
Well, yeah, I'm sure I'll hear that at some point, but I do appreciate the extra effort.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You are welcome.
How's your week?
Oh, so far so good. Got another, got Saturday to deal with tomorrow, but outside of that, it's just cruised on by. Seems like that's what they do. It's just time flies when you're having a good time and talking current events and politics and all that good stuff. So how was your week?
So,
I know you got a round of golf in sometime.
Yeah, I did get a round in yesterday, 9 holes in our no-score league, and had, in my opinion, the best round of golf of my life. We did 2-on-2 scrambles, although we're not really keeping score, and my balls were used, which is weird to say, about half the time, which has never happened before. I was chipping well. I was putting well. I've been watching TikTok videos to help improve my game a little bit. I'm not sure if that's the best place to go for advice, but I picked up an interesting putting tip where you walk off the distance from the ball to the hole in paces, and that's about how far back your club should swing on your putt. I don't know if that helped, but I certainly was putting better. I was using a cheater club just off the green to chip. One of the you know what I'm talking about? One of those cheap clubs that's like a combo putter chipper.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so I was using that and hitting that fairly well. I was getting the ball off the tee better than usual. Most of my drives weren't used because I can't drive more than about 150 yards, but they were right down the middle. My woods, my fairway woods were hitting the green or very close to it. Although I still. And I shouldn't admit this. This is why I don't play nice courses. I was still teeing up the ball in the fairway with my 3-wood.
Well, that's acceptable.
Just turn your head for a minute. Don't just ignore that. I am covered with mosquitoes, though. If you're watching the SuperTalk video stream and you see me bend down, I'm covered with mosquito bites. So that's the only downside today.
They're living off of my feet right now, I think. I look down. I have about 10 or 12 new looks like little pin pricks every day. And
yeah, they're bad this time of year.
They eat me up. And
so
they don't get me in many other places, but man, they love that sweet meat around the ankles. Oh man,
what have you and Richard been talking about this week? What's been big for you guys?
Honestly, it's we had some weather.
Yeah,
down there,
which we'll talk about this morning as well.
Weather,
got really lucky.
Yeah, not as bad as was expected, which is always good, and just having. All the craziness that it's the usual with the politics of the day, but juggling a bunch of different things all through the week. And,
SEC media
and then you had
days.
SEC media days, right? So we had Borky and Hey Dad. They jumped in and were able to fill us in on all the things that were going on with Ole Miss, Mississippi State, and probably a little bit more as far as the other teams. But our teams, Ole Miss State, they get kicked off here at the end of August, and so will Southern Miss. But Mississippi State and Southern Miss have a nice little kickoff planned, and so it's a lot of great speculation this time of year about who's going to be good. Everybody's going to be good right now, and then you get to play a few games, and we'll find out.
Ole Miss and Southern are looking really good. I have high hopes for State as well. They certainly are in a rebuilding phase, but I've got high hopes for State. Maybe we'll talk about that a little bit too. In just a minute, this tropical wave, Invest 93L, I think is what it's been called. It never really developed as a tropical depression technically, I don't believe, and a shifted course. It looked like it was headed right for the coast. We will talk to the Harrison County EMA director, Matt Sutton, later this morning and find out how the coast is prepared, because there still will be a lot of rain across southern Mississippi for sure, and maybe across the state. And obviously a lot of attention has been focused on flash floods across the country over the last couple of weeks. So that's always a danger and a big rain event, which is what this wound up being. How does the forecast look across the state? Do we have a lot of wet weather in store for the next couple of days?
Well, I can surely tell you, Scott. In the Delta, it'll be showers and thunderstorms likely, mainly between 4 and 5 p.m. today. Mostly sunny, high near 93 degrees. Heat index values will be cooking, though, 105. Be light winds, not much to mention. They're about 5 miles an hour coming out of the southeast. Chance of the wet stuff's about 60%. So pretty wet today, potentially, in the Delta, especially the center part. Tonight, 30% chance of showers, partly cloudy, low around 76. Little, nice and pleasant, 76 is. And tomorrow, 40% chance of showers. Again, heat index values up over 100. A little bit more wind, though, 5 to 10 miles an hour out of the southwest. So the Delta, that is your forecast for the Delta tomorrow and today. In Meridian, Mississippi, east side of the state, showers and thunderstorms before 5 p.m. most likely. High about 90 degrees, so not too rough today. Heat index values could be about 100. A little less, though, about a 5 to 10 mile an hour wind, 20 miles an hour could be the peak value there. So in the east part of the state, should have some little wind gusts, maybe a little cooler, but you got a lot of rain in the horizon probably for, on the outlook, 80%. Could have some gully washers in there, as they like to say. 30% chance of showers tonight, mostly cloudy, low around 73. And then tomorrow, 50% chance of showers in the eastern part of the state of Mississippi, and be about 92 degrees. So, again, not too bad when you look at what it has been.
A little bit better.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah. And then Iuka, northeast corner up there around Corinth, Mississippi. Beautiful hill country. That's our mountains here, 50% chance of showers and thunderstorms, mainly after 1 p.m. today. It'll be mostly sunny, high near 90 degrees, calm wind. Not a whole lot of rain out there, but if it rains, you're in those hills up there, so you got to be a little careful. 30% chance of showers and thunderstorms tonight, and then about 40% tomorrow, high near 88 degrees. And then I'll give you one more here. We'll get down to Slidell area, Picayune, Mississippi, where it has been, where we were a little bit more worried about the precipitation and the flash flooding potential, but looks like 30% chance of showers, as you're getting up this morning potentially, and showers and thunderstorms are likely before 5 p.m. today. High near 88 degrees in Picayune. That's going to be nice. And chance of precipitation, though, 90%. So that's probably one reason why it'll be 88 degrees. But tonight, 20% chance of showers, about 73 degrees. And then tomorrow, showers before 10 a.m. and then maybe a little bit more around lunch. So, but after that, it should start clearing up and warming back up for you. 80% chance of rain, though, tomorrow morning. So that is our forecast for the state of Mississippi. And I think I got everything covered. If anybody has a question, please shoot me a text, and I'll tell you what I got.
Once the rain clears out and the skies open up a little bit, the Perseid meteor shower began last night, and I'm kind of a nerd. I'll find an area without a lot of city lights to try to see if I see any shooting stars. It doesn't peak until, I think, mid-August, so you've got plenty of time over the next month or so to catch some of the Perseid meteor showers. Which
Raining aliens.
And you have been on this alien kick the last couple of days. You sent me a bunch of texts about the alien UFO conspiracy stuff, and wanted to know if I knew anybody from Area 51.
Yeah, well, you got the guy, the Jason Sands. That's why I was like, man, are you related to him? Because he was like a pilot, a U.S. Air Force dude, and he's on, over the last few years, he's been on a lot of things. He's completely been vetted by everybody, so he's serious, and worked at like Area 51 and a few other places. But yeah, it made me think. I was like, man, I work with a guy named Sands. I got to ask him if he's related to this fella.
I could tell you, but I'd have to kill you.
Yeah, well, that's kind of the way it works in that world, isn't it?
It is.
Nothing but secrets.
Speaking of aliens' birthdays today, John Glenn was born in 1921, first astronaut to orbit the Earth, and became senator, the oldest person launched into space at age 77. John Glenn, just an American icon, an American hero. Also celebrating a birthday today, one of my favorites. I think we've talked about Yellowstone before. Kelly Riley is 48. She plays Beth Dutton, which is perhaps the best character on Yellowstone. If you watch that series, love her.
Now she's the reddish blonde head,
right?
Is that right? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, she is. She is the. Depending on your point of view, I guess, either very evil or very cool, or a little bit of both.
Yeah, probably a little of both. That's the appeal, I think, to her character. Is she's got a little bit of an edge, but she's also a sweetie when she wants to be. So she can.
When it comes to family,
yeah, exactly.
When it comes to family.
Only blood,
right? Vin Diesel is 58. Ricky Skaggs in the Country Music Hall of Fame is 71. Some rich people celebrating birthdays today. Richard Branson, 75, and Steve Forbes is 78. Martha Reeves and the Vandellas. Maybe you can find some Heat Wave for Dancing in the Streets a little bit later. She's 84. Joe Torre, 85. And another one you could find if you want to go oldies today, Dion DiMucci. Do you remember his hit from the 60s?
DiMucci. It rings a bell, but I don't. Actually.
2 big songs. Run Around Sue and The Wanderer.
Okay, yeah. I know who those are. I know those. And don't forget about, good old Paul Verhoeven, the director of Showgirls and Basic Instinct. Don't forget about those.
Which I saw a story headline today that they're going to do a reboot of Basic Instinct
2, exactly.
Because they've completely run out of ideas in Hollywood, I guess.
No doubt.
Look at some of the things happening on this day in history, July 18th, and some sports news next.
From the Venable Glass.
Wake up! Wake up! Rise and shine!
Start your day right. Mornings with Richard Cross
Nice early morning surprise.
on SuperTalk, Mississippi.
We chased Lady Luck till we finally struck Bonanza. With a gun and a rope and a hat full of hope, we planted our family tree. We got a hold of a pot full of gold Bonanza. With a horse and a saddle and a ring full of cattle, how rich could a fella be? On this land we put our brand, our pride is the name. Fortune smile the day we fly.
So far, we've had Metallica and the Bonanza theme. It's going to be one of those mornings.
Oh, yeah, I'm going to throw it all over the place today.
And they don't write TV theme songs like they used to. I mean, when was the last good TV theme song? Friends, maybe?
Yeah, I mean, it stuck, but, it was kind of like an earworm. The way it was, it worked. It just you knew it was Friends, and
Right.
it was upbeat and all that. But yeah, you're right. That's why I love playing some of these because it's a treat of the senses.
People have stopped watching like sitcoms.
Like who
on
sings their
television.
own? Who sings their own jingle for their show? That was Lauren Green singing it for Bonanza.
Right.
Who does that? Nobody.
Well,
Be like
that
Tim
takes a little
Allen
bit of
singing the
swagger.
Tool Time. They had the Tool Time band. That was terrible, but it was at least fun listening to him. Create something. Today, like you were saying, though, it's all rehashed, kind of redone, and I love a unique script. When you find one that's actually, oh wow, somebody wrote a script. They didn't polish up an old one.
All of the really good shows are on the streaming services today for the most part.
Yeah, they pump them out though too. It's amazing how much content has come out and how much terrible content has gone along with that. Quite frankly, but some of them are. Some of them are really good, and then it's hit or
cheaper
miss.
to produce shows like Love Island and the game shows than it is to produce a drama. So the networks have kind of moved away from it. He's Lance. I'm Scott Sands in for Richard Cross, and the C-Spar text line open at 601-879-4395. I didn't see much happening historically on July 18th. The authority of the Pope was declared void by King Henry VIII in 1536. Presidential Succession Act was signed by Truman in 1947, and it was 56 years ago, 1969, just before midnight, that a drunk Ted Kennedy drove his car off a bridge at Chappaquiddick. Very bravely, Teddy swam to safety, leaving Mary Jo Kopechne to die in the car, and left the scene. This is still a scandal that's never been fully addressed. Aliens came out, Sigourney Weaver in 1986, and Jurassic Park 3 released in 2001. Those were the highlights that I saw on this day in history.
Yeah, well, you had Detroit. They submitted bankruptcy protection on this day way back in 2013, And then a couple of other interesting things that did happen on this day. Mein Kampf, first publication of that, hit the shelves. You know, it was a bestseller immediately, apparently. You also had Nelson Mandela was born on this day in the world out there, I believe. And then Hunter Thompson, my favorite writer of all time, crazy man. It's his birthday today. But you're right, not a ton of big things happened on this day. But you have, what was her name? I don't know. I can't say it. Namini Comaneci or whatever was the gymnast. Had to like
Nadia Comaneci?
Yeah, got the perfect score on this day.
Okay.
Yeah, it was like the first perfect score ever. So, I mean, some kind of, lightweight stuff today other than Mein Kampf. I mean, that was kind of a big deal.
There was, on the C-Spar text line, Lee Majors, Fall Guy. Apparently, he sang the theme song. I remember watching the Fall Guy.
Man, I love Lee Majors.
I had the Fall Guy action figure, but I don't remember him singing the theme song.
Yeah, you didn't pull a string and he sang for you or anything. But Ty Cobb set the Major League Baseball record today also by getting his 4,000th career hit. He ended up with 4,191 before he retired in 1928. But he did that in 1927 when he got his 4,000th hit. So he got another 191 before he hung up the cleats. Good old Ty Cobb. He was a beast.
So, sports-wise, it's kind of that dead period.
Yeah.
We just had the Major League Baseball All-Star Game. Football, even though the SEC Media Days really kind of gets us all fired up for football season, that's more than 40-some-odd days away.
Yeah.
And this weekend, there may be a golf tournament. I forget which golf tournament.
Royal Portrush.
And the WNBA All-Star Game and Skills Tournament, if anybody cares about that at all.
I actually caught a little bit of a Fever game the other day, and I know it was Fever because I saw it written across the jersey, and I didn't know what level I was watching until I went, oh, that's Caitlin Clark. And she was draining. It must have been like a replay or something because we're in that break, right? You got the skills challenge or something. And
she's out on injured reserve.
Yeah.
She re-injured her groin, I believe.
Yeah, after getting beat up for months. It happens, doesn't it?
And how does she not make the cover? First of all, I didn't know there was a WNBA video game. How does she not make the cover of that video game?
Oh,
it went to
that
Angel
upset,
Reese.
That upset way too many people. And Angel Reese has the little McDonald's thing going, so she's way more popular. That's the way it is.
Or anybody. Did you? I didn't watch the ESPYs, but I saw a lot of clips of comedian Shane Gillis on social media, who just trolled everybody in the audience. He had a friend of his wife sitting in the audience and welcomed her as a WNBA star, and the crowd applauded. So there's a lot of pandering to the WNBA. People pretend to love the sport, but nobody knows any of these stars other than maybe Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark and Sophie Cunningham now on the Fever, who is the defender for Caitlin Clark.
Well, when you say a star, like what are we? I guess that's kind of where I get hung up a little bit.
Everything's relative. I will say Caitlin Clark has certainly made more people than ever were before.
There you go.
Interested in the WNBA, I guess, right?
That upset a lot of people that she was a star coming out of college and got a lot of attention and all that good stuff because she was a good player. And the rest of the league really did not have, a lot of marquee names, and that upset a lot of folks. So, I'm not a huge fan of the WNBA. It's a model that doesn't make money, and I'm not one of those that if a professional sport doesn't make money, it's not profitable. I have a tendency to not to really care much about it. So. Pro sports. I'm not saying that about college sports, but pro sports are the ones that are always upset about stuff and want this and want that, but yet they don't sell tickets. It's like, hey, sell some tickets. How about that? And when the NBA is subsidizing, the outcome as far as the success or failure of the league, I mean that's fine.
That's not to say the WNBA shouldn't exist.
No, it's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying, listen, it's relative, as you were saying. How important is it really? Well, it's as important as those, as the ratings, and they're low, they're terrible, but yet it's front and center a lot. It's almost like it's force fed upon you. To like WNBA because you have to. And I've watched it. It's not a great product. I mean, I'm just being honest with you.
Well, and I prefer college basketball over pro basketball anyway. I very rarely will watch the NBA, let alone women's.
Women's basketball in college to me is much better to watch than the WNBA. If you watch a lot of that, I don't watch a ton, but from my opinion, I would much rather prefer watching the college game than the pro game, and that's probably in most cases, not because I don't like pro sports, but some about the college game. It's just a little bit more energetic at times and contagious. I don't know. How do you feel? Are you a big college sports fan?
Oh, I prefer college sports every day of the week.
It's just something about it.
Obviously, I like the NFL, but absolutely, I will watch college sports all day, every day, if given the opportunity. It's the pro sports that sometimes I find annoying and less competitive. Someone on the C-Spire text line, 601-879-4395, said, Angel Reese is more popular. You actually are delusional. Maybe. I don't know. I just don't know. I will say that this feud that's been developed and perhaps even manufactured between Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese is probably good for public relations and creating attention for the WNBA more than anything else, because the games are certainly less spectacular.
I believe you're right.
It gets people talking about the WNBA and sport because of this feud, which I got to tell you at times does appear to be real. And it seems like from at least the highlights that I see on social media, these other teams are just beating up on Caitlin Clark, and that can't be good to continue to injure your biggest star or one of your two biggest stars. But the feud between Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark, I think, certainly draws attention to the league and to the teams.
Well, it's a little WWE, WWF and stuff. It creates controversy. You got a heel, you got the hero, and that's a storyline that it kind of exists across many platforms. And sports is not one that is left out of that. You are seeing it magnified a bit, I think, in the WNBA. But Tennessee played that role in college baseball for a couple of years. Everybody hated Tennessee because of the way they played the game. And no. Well, they won. And they created a lot of eyes on the prize and a lot more butts in the seats. And it was popular, and it helped, I think, bring attention. So, yeah, there are values in that. But doing it every day, beating up on one of the best players, I think at some point you got to take a breather there, because that's one of the bell cows. You got
to keep her in the league as long as you can until the next Caitlin Clark comes around in college women's basketball. It's the only way to make the sport.
I agree. You got to protect your players. Yeah, you got to protect the investments.
And we're seeing that across all of the leagues as well. A little bit more concern about player safety, at least some of the time. C-Spire text line open 601-879-4395 and streaming everywhere at supertalk.fm. I'm Scott Sands along with Lance, filling in for Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi.
From the Seabird. Super Talk, Mississippi.
Ladies and gentlemen,
here we go. Now back to Mornings with Richard Cross.
Now that's entertainment.
Tuesday, Ricky Matthews and Middays with Gerard Gibbert will be at the Mississippi Municipal League's annual conference at the Mississippi Coast Coliseum, Biloxi. It's an event that brings city and county leaders from across the state together, and look forward to the future of the Magnolia State. That'll be right here on Super Talk Mississippi. Scott Sands in for Richard this morning, along with Lance, and streaming everywhere at supertalk.fm. Lance, I think I sent this to you and Richard yesterday. This was my favorite story in a while coming from X and social media. Everybody knows about the kiss cam on the Jumbotron. You've probably seen it at sporting events and other concerts, perhaps. Well, there was a couple featured Wednesday night at a Coldplay concert in Massachusetts on the Jumbotron. I guess at some point during the concert that Coldplay does, Chris Martin hands the camera around to people in the audience and comments on them, and then goes into a song. Well, on the Jumbotron at this Coldplay concert in Massachusetts was a man swaying with his arms around a woman. It looked like they were a very happy married couple. And right after they were showed on the Jumbotron, the man kind of ducked down out of the frame. The woman turned away. There's also another woman who has her hand on her face in disbelief, laughing at the whole situation. And Chris Martin, the lead singer of Coldplay, noticed what was happening on the Jumbotron and said, look at these two. I think I sent you the audio, Lance, but it's really hard to hear. He said, look at these two. Come on, you're right, you're okay. Or either they're having an affair or they're just very shy. Well, it turns out that they weren't shy at all. They were having an affair. And if you thought the first time this video went up on social media on X, you might have thought it was a pre-planned stunt for a laugh. Sometimes at sporting events, you'll see a woman shun a man from kissing her, and these are all pre-planned stunts to try to go viral from the kiss cam from some of these teams. But the internet has this way of doing everybody's detective work. And on X, people began to piece it together. The guy is reportedly somebody named Andy Byron. He's the CEO of a tech company called Astronomer. I have no idea what they do and haven't done the research on that. And it turns out that the woman whose arms he had around swaying together in love at the Coldplay concert was the company's chief people officer, the head of HR. So
her name that's always a good relationship there. The CEO and the HR head. Yeah. If you're gonna have it, I mean, that's a weird way to do it. Yeah. Is that like? Do you have your own like dating profile that probably HR has for you? Like do they have something there? Like, okay, yeah, this guy. He has good hair. His teeth are real pretty. He's 6'2", not out of shape. They got all that in the HR file. Or is it more like work stuff, you think?
We are a very divided country, and there was one thing that brought the world together yesterday, at least on X, which is where I spend most of my social media time. The world was united with memes about Coldplay and this couple from the company Astronomer. There were just and they're still coming out today. They're just absolutely brilliant memes about what happened. We're learning more today because this poor couple is never going to be able to live this down. Apparently, the head of HR, the woman, was apparently divorced, or one of the two was separated or divorced. But if that divorce isn't final, they're getting a lot more money after the Wednesday night concerts.
Somebody's getting paid. Huh?
Somebody somewhere is getting paid from all of this, and they've both deactivated their social media. It just can you imagine? I feel sorry for the poor communications people at this company Astronomer that have to deal with it at some point. They've been largely quiet so far, but at some point, this poor company is going to have to acknowledge what happened on the kiss cam.
Oh, well, it's funny. I went and looked and dug around, and you're right. The memes they're out there, and these two, they were just having a nice little fun, innocent night, and get caught and get busted in a cheating scandal. That was not what they went out. They didn't think of that when they walked in the door.
I think as a spouse, I would be more upset that my spouse is into Coldplay than is cheating.
Yeah, I probably would have been. Yeah. They look like they both also had spent the day in sun somewhere.
Right. I have actually gone to a Coldplay concert and fell asleep in the concert.
Yeah, that sounds like sleeping music to me, but
I nothing wrong with the band. They're just not one of my favorites. At this point in our society, Coldplay has now exposed more cheating men than the Epstein files. So that's
than the Ashley Madison leak. Huh?
That's where we are today. Have you and Richard talked at all about what's happening in the whole Epstein
of course,
the mishandling of the Epstein case by the Trump administration?
Of course we have. I mean, I have. I don't know if Richard shares the same opinion as I do on the mishandling of it, but from me digging through it, I mean, it was a total punt, a whiff. It's like watching three strikes go by that were 82 miles an hour belt high, and you found a way to just not even take the bat off the shoulder. I mean, it's. And then you get into the Epstein stuff and the P. Diddy stuff, and it's all
Well,
it's
disgusting that Diddy and Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell are apparently going to get off, or at least not be and really the men in the on Epstein Island who exploited all of these young girls. I honestly have not talked a lot about Epstein on my podcast or here filling in on SuperTalk Mississippi, because it's not been, to me, one of the more important issues. But I certainly think it's very important that the men who exploited these young girls are brought to justice, and that the victims are entitled to and should have their day in court. And I don't care what names are named and what men who exploited these young girls are punished for what they may have done. The thing is, it's been interesting. Either Pam Bondi just really fumbled the ball on this, and I otherwise like Pam Bondi, but she went on Fox News for months saying we have all these salacious details, all of this information.
And they were floating around and showing, hey, we got all these files. Where are they?
So either she was doing that for social media clout, and then once she actually got her hands on the files, realized that there wasn't a lot of information there, and maybe there was a ton of information and damning evidence that's been deleted and destroyed by the Biden administration or others, or there actually is nothing there. And the problem is this. Conspiracy theories, and you and I have talked about conspiracy theories. I love going down the conspiracy theory rabbit hole, but I don't usually buy into most of them. But the problem is they almost never go away, even though they're almost always never proven to be true. They just never, and the more this languishes and the less information that's provided and the less transparency there is, the more these conspiracy rumors will continue to grow. And I think it's important. We voted for President Trump to be transparent and to hold people in power accountable and to drain the swamp, all of those things he promised to do. And by trying to downplay this and call people who have bought into what he now calls the Epstein hoax as being idiots, I don't know that that's the best way for him to handle this. Now, last night, he ordered Pam Bondi to release the grand jury transcripts, which she can do. But this story, and until all of the information is made public and people have an opportunity to go through it, the rumors, the conspiracies will continue to grow, and we'll see even more false stories spread, like this Wall Street Journal story that came out late last night. I don't know if you saw this, alleging that Donald Trump sent a 50th birthday note to Jeffrey Epstein, and drew a naked woman, big boobs, on this note that was put into a book for Epstein's birthday, with notes from a bunch of his friends and exes, just a weird birthday gift. They didn't publish the actual letter, and Trump has denied it. Vice President J.D. Vance has denied it, and unless we see the authenticity, we may never know about that either. But it certainly didn't seem like language that Donald Trump would use and a birthday note. Trump's obviously mentioned in the files, whether he went to Epstein Island or did anything wrong or not, doesn't really matter. I think he's just trying to protect himself. This information needs to come out. And as a media person, as a communications guy for the last 30 years, just the entire way this has been handled is an unforced error by the Trump administration. And I think we expected more transparency and accountability out of Donald Trump than what we've seen, at least so far, and the way the Epstein case has been handled. And that's all I'm asking for, is for these men who exploited these young girls to eventually be brought to justice for the victims' sake. And they should have an opportunity to speak. I regret that Congress isn't apparently allowing Ghislaine Maxwell to testify. I think that would be one way to settle some of these rumors as well. Otherwise, it just seems like they're afraid of something. That's at the end of the day, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on that, too, on the C Spire text line, 601-879-4395. If you play the Mississippi Lottery, we've got your numbers, and weekend jackpot totals coming up next.
From the Venable Glass Traffic.
To switch on.
Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk Mississippi.
Yeah!
Auto America jackpot grows to $2.85 million with a cash value of $1.39 million. A winner on Wednesday night. The numbers were 5, 35, 37, 46, 50. Starball 9. Bonus multiplier 2. Also no winner in the Powerball on Wednesday night. That jackpot now $288 million with a cash value $130.6 million and growing. Numbers Wednesday night were 4, 21, 43, 48, 49. Powerball 22. Power play multiplier was 2. And the double play numbers Wednesday were 8, 23, 42, 56, 68. Powerball 10. A lot of money building in those three jackpots.
Well, you're another 12 mil in Powerball, and you'll start buying tickets. So
pretty close.
We're
I'll have to put together my lotto pool from the cigar shop guys.
Well, Mega Millions, no jackpot winner yet. Estimated jackpot for tonight, Friday the 18th, $100 million. Estimated cash value, $44.3 million. The last drawing was Tuesday. Those numbers, 6, 10, 24, 35, 43, and a mega ball of 1.
Mississippi match 5. Again, no jackpot, and that's building to $646,000. Last night's numbers were 6, 19, 23, 31, 35. Not one, but two Mississippi lottery players just scored $100,000 each thanks to the Powerball Power Play add-on. One winning ticket sold in North Mississippi at the Walmart Superstore in Corinth, and the other on the Gulf Coast at Ramey's in Gaucher. Each ticket matched 4 out of 5 white balls plus the red Powerball to win $50,000. But because they added the $1 Power Play multiplier, prize doubled to $100,000. So when you're buying your next Powerball ticket for a shot at the $288 million jackpot, add the Power Play for just $1 extra, and that small boost could mean a multiplied payday. MSLottery.com to learn more about that. Few winners across the state yesterday too, Lance.
Yeah, we had some winners. There was a couple from yesterday's that we didn't get to that were huge. So I wanted to mention 2 of those from yesterday quickly. We had a $75,000 winner on the $5 Super Cash Word. That was a Picayune man with $75K in his pocket from Stop and Go Food Mart in Picayune. And then another big one was the $20 $500,000 Extreme Cash winner. It's the first $500,000 one I've seen come out. But a Madison, Alabama woman took home $500K on a ticket from Newton Crossing in Newton. That's huge. So those were ones that we did not get to yesterday. And so, yeah, there were a few winners today, too. Not as big as those, but we had a couple nice ones in there.
Hey, cash is cash.
Yeah, cash is cash. Players from Columbus and Canton each scored $3,100 on tickets from Sprint Mart in Columbus and Z Mini Mart in Canton. A Pearl man won $39.45 on 2 tickets. 2 Aberdeen women won $6,200 on Tobacco Warehouse tickets in Columbus. And an Amory woman won $10,500 using 4 tickets from Pig Discount Tobacco Store in Amory, Mississippi.
We had players from Forest and Oxford who each won $1,000 on tickets from the Forest Red Apple Texaco and the Walmart Superstore in Oxford. A Canton woman won $2,000 on 2 tickets from Kangaroo Crossing in Lexington. In the match 5, an Amory man won $1,000 on the ticket from the Sprint Mart. Some Mega Millions winners, including a Woodville woman who won $830 on a ticket from Junior Food Mart in Woodville, and a Myrtle woman won $1,000 on a ticket from Eagle Fast Stop in New Albany.
Yeah, that's a nice little laundry list of winners as you go into the weekend. Wonder if they'll be grilling out and with their new winnings, But $20 200-time cash blitz winners. You had players from Columbus and Ocean Springs. They each won $1,000 on tickets from Express Mart in Columbus and the Circle K store in Ocean Springs. And then finally, the $20 colossal cash winner, a Gulfport man, won $1,000 on a ticket from the Eagle Express 568 in Gulfport, Mississippi.
A lot of winners, and the jackpots are growing. You can learn more at mslottery.com. Just to follow up on our conversation, Lance, about Jeffrey Epstein and the way the Trump administration has handled the case and the Wall Street Journal story, which came out yesterday. Trump has been up all night on Truth Social, on his social media platform, just crucifying the Wall Street Journal. In his most recent post, he said the Wall Street Journal printed a fake letter supposedly to Epstein These are not my words, not the way I talk. Also, I don't draw pictures. I told Rupert Murdoch it was a scam, that he shouldn't print this fake story, but he did, and now I'm going to sue his ass off. And that of his third-rate newspaper. Thank you for your attention to this matter, DJT, which, by the way, has got to be the power way to sign off all of his Truth Social posts. Thank you for your attention to this matter.
Well, and his history in collecting on these slander, libel type of things is pretty good. So if old Rupert was smart, it might have to print an oopsie daisy.
And I wonder what this does for the relationship that Trump and the Trump administration has had with News Corp, the Rupert Murdoch company, which not only owns Wall Street Journal, but also Fox News, his favorite outlet. As somebody on the C Spire text line pointed out, look, if there was any incriminating evidence in the Epstein files about Donald Trump, it would have come out a long time ago. So that's the only reason why I don't think the Trump administration is hiding anything, because it might be damning to Donald Trump. We would have learned about that as soon as he announced that he was running for office. That immediately would have come out. But there's certainly the speculation that he and the Biden administration and others have been protecting a lot of very important people. Fox News is coming up at the top of the hour.
The views and opinions expressed by the hosts, guests, and callers on this show are not the opinions of TeleSouth Communications, its management, or advertisers.
Mornings with Richard Cross.
People want to hear the truth, man. That's what we're going to do.
Super Talk, Mississippi.
This hour of Mornings with Richard Cross is brought to you by MWG Employer Services. Running a business is tough, and if you're struggling with HR, benefits, and payroll, you're not alone. That's where MWG Employer Services comes in. They can provide a full range of employer services and a custom plan to fit you. Call today at 601-206-7966 or go to MWGEmployerServices.com. It's Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi and streaming everywhere, supertalk.fm. I'm Scott Sands along with Lance and for Richard this morning. And President Trump continues to put out posts on Truth Social saying what I just alluded to, that if there was, this is his Truth Social post, if there was a smoking gun on Epstein, why didn't the Dems who controlled the files for 4 years and had Garland and Comey in charge use it? Because they had nothing. Again, though, you've got to release the information for the transparency if you want these rumors to go away at all.
Yeah, there's two things going on, right? I mean, you got a guy, a pedophile, who was blackmailing people and either offed himself or was offed in prison. Okay, for what reason? Obviously, he didn't do anything wrong. And then you got the denials of President Trump saying he had nothing to do with any of this stuff, and so both can be true, right? I mean, you can have a pedophile absolutely. That were blackmailing people.
And that's usually the way things are with these conspiracy theories, and that's not even getting into the whole conspiracy rabbit hole of what intelligence agency Epstein may or may not have worked for. I certainly think that there's absolutely a likelihood that there was some intelligence leakage, whether he directly worked for an intelligence agency or not. I don't think we'll ever learn, but that would be an even bigger scandal, I believe, as if he was put up to what he did on behalf of Mossad or another agency.
What if it were a little, combination of working for different agencies, and then maybe for some corporations? Corporate spies are very much big deal. That was how we got information before the OSS and then before the CIA. Corporate spies, and they're still huge. I mean, private spies, or however you want to put it, private investigators. So, I mean, who knows who all has hands on whatever he gathered and who all he worked for. Maybe that is the hesitancy there.
Yeah, that's entirely valid. Hopefully we'll learn more with some of the grand jury testimony if Pam Bondi releases that today. But again, until there's full transparency, these questions are not going to go away. And it's been interesting to watch how President Trump's supporters have reacted to him essentially calling them idiots and dummies for buying into the Epstein hoax. Well,
I don't see it as the hoax part would maybe be attributing and attaching him to indiscretions. As far as Epstein, I mean, that's where I have a problem with the terminology. Epstein hoax, what are we talking about, attaching President Trump to it, or are we talking about Epstein the whole thing's a hoax? Because I don't believe the whole Epstein thing is a hoax, personally.
It's too big. We know too much about it for the entire thing to have been a hoax. But to tie him into, to tie President Trump
being
into
clear here,
some of these things.
Trying to make sure we're clear on what we're talking about, because
that's likely a hoax. Yeah, absolutely. And somebody on the C Spire text line pointed out, would the Wall Street Journal have published the story about this letter Donald Trump supposedly wrote if they weren't able to verify the authenticity of it, because they would have known Donald Trump would sue? I think we've seen in the past that hasn't stopped the media before.
Sure, when you make billions of dollars and you get $100 million verdict against you, sometimes the money you make off the sensationalization of a story
will
offset significantly.
It's the cost of doing business.
Right, there you go. So I don't think that has any bearing on what the New York Times is putting out, whether they can confirm it or not. It's whether they can make enough money off of it so that they can pay the fees and fines if they get caught lying.
And get people talking about the Wall Street Journal again, because people aren't talking about print media as much as we used to. And we've seen Donald Trump successfully sue other media outlets. Just the most recent one, the Paramount $16 million settlement with President Trump over the 60 Minutes case.
And how much did 60 Minutes make off of that? So what, 16 million is what, 1%? 5% of the take?
It's probably one night's commercial inventory.
There you go. So I mean, let's be realistic about national media. I mean, they make a lot of money off of clicks and tuning in, and all those advertisers want those eyes, and
so do these influencers that are both pushing for the Epstein release, and those defending President Trump are all doing it for clicks and for clout, because they're making money off of these social media posts. Speculation, in fact, after the Paramount settlement with Donald Trump for $16 million, the CBS case, which Stephen Colbert was critical of on his show, on Late Show on CBS. And last night, Stephen Colbert announced that Late Show was being canceled after the next season, so about another 10 or 12 months of the show running through, I think, next May or June. And they're not going to replace Colbert. They're just ending the show altogether, which has been a historic landmark franchise for like 35 years. Just purely a financial decision, I think, on the part of CBS. I don't think it has anything to do with Colbert being critical of the Paramount settlement, or they would have just replaced him and not canceled the entire show. CBS also recently canceled After Midnight, which was one of the few late night shows that I loved. I loved the whole concept of After Midnight, if you ever saw that. But these shows just aren't drawing the same audience that they used to draw. I think Late Show was bringing in 2.5 million viewers last season, which is respectable. It was ahead of Jimmy Kimmel. It was ahead of Fallon on NBC. But it's not drawing young adults to the network in the same numbers that it used to. And I'm a guy who loved Late Show. I was a huge David Letterman fan. I wanted to emulate David Letterman, just a big fan of the Late Show. So I personally hate to see it go away, but I wasn't necessarily a fan of Colbert as host. I enjoyed him on Daily Show, even though politically I disagree with most of the Daily Show content on Comedy Central. But I love the concept of that character, and I think he played it very well.
Well, I mean, I always like seeing the other side of the coin sometimes, but like, let's just use Seth Meyers as an example. He gets about 560,000 people per episode, making him about the 17th most popular show on NBC and about 118th overall on television. Why is he even on TV?
Yeah, and it costs so.
How much does it cost exactly? I mean, you're talking
that
about
are expensive to produce.
I mean, I just all right. If you want a left-leaning host or something, shouldn't it be? As I was saying about the NBA, shouldn't you make money? I mean, shouldn't this be a profitable endeavor given this is capitalism?
Well, and if we've seen more Democrat candidates try to find ways to communicate with potential voters there's talk about why can't we have podcast bros like the right has?
Sure.
Well, because
but if you listen to Seth Meyers, everything is far left. Everything is critical. He gets 500,000 viewers, 500,000, but yet he's on mainstream television, is a 118th most popular show on TV, and the 17th most popular on NBC. But yet that guy's got a job, and he's terrible. Job. And again, he's terrible at his job, and yet that's why he gets 500,000 people watching. But again, that's the way the left likes to play it. Whether you want to hear it or not, they're going to force it. It's there. Right. It's there, even if you're not consuming it. And there was a big victory for Republicans in the House and Senate yesterday. Their second major legislative victory of the month, which kind of addresses the same thing, the liberal bias in media. The rescissions package cut $9 billion, a good start, not nearly enough, but a good start, and that included cutting a cut of funding to the tune of just over $1 billion to the Corporation for Public Broadcasting. Obviously, I love it when there's a corporation, and again, they're not asked to make money, but they're a corporation.
This is bad news for fans of Sesame Street and Iraq.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess.
And as a broadcaster, I hate to see people in our industry potentially losing jobs. It's not good for there to be fewer voices. But certainly as a taxpayer, I don't want to be funding this liberal bias when you have what has been demonstrated as a certain lean in their news coverage. Our tax money shouldn't be going to that. If NPR, if PBS were truly non-biased and providing real news coverage, I would be 100% in support of continuing to fund it. But it's obviously got a political agenda, intentional or otherwise, that we should not be subsidizing as taxpayers. Let NPR, let PBS make their own money through sponsorships. Let them put commercials on Sesame Street if within regulations, because obviously it's attracting kids. But they should be able, if there are that many people watching PBS and listening to NPR, let them make their own money to continue to operate rather than it coming from taxpayers. $9 billion in the rescission package. It's a good way to start cutting waste, fraud, and abuse, but not nearly enough. I hope we see more rescissions packages coming soon. State Senator Nicole Akins-Boyd will join me next. I'm Scott Sands in for Richard Cross on Super Talk Mississippi. C Spire text line open as well, 601-879-4395.
From the Bendable Glass Traffic.
What are we going to do?
Rise and shine with information and insight.
Check it out.
Mornings with Richard Cross, Super Talk Mississippi.
How y'all doing? Scott Sands in for Richard Cross, Super Talk Mississippi, and streaming everywhere at supertalk.fm. You can find me on X at Scott Sands Media. State Senator Nicole Boyd is joining me now. It is so nice to see you again. Thank you for coming on the show.
Good morning.
So I saw a ton of representatives from Mississippi in D.C. this week at the State Leadership Conference. Were you there with everybody?
I was. There was about 50 of us that traveled to D.C. on Tuesday. We would have had a few more had some flight issues not happened, but we were there along with, we had the Lieutenant Governor, the Secretary of State, the Speaker of House, the Chief of Staff with the Governor's Office, and the Deputy Attorney General with the AG's office, all there with us. And it was a great event. It's always great to have Mississippians gathered in D.C., but the White House did a great job in really trying to educate us on what their agenda is going to be over the next 4 years, really tried to tell us what they were doing, and really opened up that line of communication for us to meet and talk with various secretaries, so that we would have a relationship, that we would be able to pick up the phone call and make those phone calls when we needed to do that for our constituents here in Mississippi. So it was a great event. They had the Secretary of Education, Linda McMahon, talk to us a great deal because we obviously all have concerns. What's going to go on with the Department of Education? What are we looking at? And how are those things going to be done? They had Doug Collins, the head of Veteran Affairs, and it was so reassuring to hear from him. I feel very positive about the status of our veterans across this country with Doug Collins in charge. I think he's going to be terrific on that. We also talked to Scott Turner, who was the Secretary of Housing, and we look forward to having him in Mississippi, and we are very excited about the opportunity zones and what we can really do to do that. And then they also had individuals from the Department of Justice really talking about what they're going to be looking at in enforcement issues. And we asked them for some help with some particular things. We had somebody from the Office of Intergovernmental Outreach, and then we also had individuals from the Interior's office. So it was a great, really briefing. It was jam-packed. It was from 1 o'clock to 5 o'clock, and they let us stand up once, I think, for a break. But we were really rocking and rolling, really getting to do that. So it was fantastic. It was a good meeting, and I think we all came away having a lot of valuable insight with that. I'll tell you one of the things, though, that when I go to national meetings, I'm on the education committee, I'm chair of colleges and universities. And so I've had the pleasure of going out of state and hearing people talk about Mississippi and what we've done in education. And I have to tell you, sitting
just
there.
Some great news this week. The third grade education scores, which we saw yesterday, 77%.
Yeah. And so to be sitting there in that executive office and to have the Secretary of Education really talking about how great Mississippi has done. I mean, we've gone from 50th to 16th in a period of time. And they always call it the Mississippi miracle. It is no miracle. And I've been around the country. I think one of the writers, it is a lot of hard work. We're going to have to change the name of that because it is not just a miracle. It is because of the hard work of all of our students and our teachers and our parents and our administrators really pushing through and say, how do we make sure that our kids can read? How do we make sure that they are going to be successful? And it's something that the entire state bought into, and we all knew that there was a goal ahead, and we wanted to make sure we were not last in education anymore. And the thrilling thing is nobody's sitting around saying, okay, that's great, we've checked that box. Everybody's trying to figure out how that we make these scores go even higher, but how we make sure our children are more successful. And that's what I've spent a good bit of the summer really working on, looking at those issues, especially when it comes to colleges and universities, and what we do to make sure that our kids are succeeding in the workforce. So that's always it's a thrill, it's a great opportunity to be there, to have the secretary say, they call it a Mississippi miracle. We're not going to call it a miracle here in Mississippi. We know it was from a lot of hard work.
Well, and as the chair of the Colleges and Universities Committee just this week as well, we learned that Alcorn State, Delta State, Mississippi State, Ole Miss, and Southern were named as 5 of the best public universities in America this year.
That's right. And that is of no surprise when you go to these campuses and you see the work they're doing and you talk to these graduates that are coming out of there. We're very pleased to see that and really see the efforts that they're making across the state to really make sure that our kids are receiving a good value for their education dollars that they're spending. And and there's a lot more work to be done. And we're going to continuously be working on that to make sure that your education dollars are well spent across the state. And make sure that those dollars that the students are investing too, that they're getting a first-rate education. So we're very excited to continue working on all of those particular issues. So anyway, and I'm very excited to see the president really looking at NIL and what that can mean for our universities and colleges.
Yeah, we saw a lot of conversation about that at the SEC Media Days, and all of the Sports Talk Mississippi guys were there, where that was, that and the transfer portal are two of the biggest things facing college sports right now.
It is a huge issue. We've National Conference of State Legislators. I'm in a working group on that. But we've got the House that has indicated a strong plan there. We've got the Senate that is looking at issues, and now we have the President, I think, looking at an executive order on that is what is coming out. And I think there's been some drafts leaked of that. So we're very excited about that to really see what's going to happen around, because it is kind of the wild, wild west out there in regards to this. And so we're super excited to kind of see where this goes, and really how that we can make sure that there's, we kind of put some guardrails up on this process to make sure
now,
that
while you were in
athletes...
D.C., while you were in D.C., I saw pictures from some of the other people who were there representing Mississippi at the State Leadership Conference. Did you make it out to my favorite place to go in D.C. at night, Shelley's Back Room? Did you go have a cigar?
I did not go have a cigar. I was on the, I think it was boarding at 5:30 a.m. from Jackson. And I think we got home about 11 something that night. So we really flew in and out to get to that. And it's always fun to travel, because when you go to DC, you never know, especially in the summer, what youth group is going to be there. And so we got to see our state FFA officers that were headed to their big convention up in DC, and that was kind of fun too, just to see their excitement about going to the nation's capital, and to really kind of learn that it was some of their first flights for some of them, and they were super excited to get there. And I remember that as a youth, and I still have that a feeling when I got off the plane in Washington. I went to those things as youth, and it never, when you fly in and you see the Washington Monument and the Capitol as you're flying in, you still have that really sense of awe. I always do, of where I am and just how, what goes on in our nation's capital. So it was really a productive meeting, and just kind of good all the way around for us to kind of hear firsthand what the administration is going to look at.
We're talking to State Senator Nicole Boyd here on Super Talk Mississippi. Last time we talked, and we've only got about 90 seconds here, we talked about the opioid crisis, and you're a lead sponsor of the opioid settlement, and the first meeting of the Opioid Settlement Fund Advisory Council met this week, I believe. How is that fund disbursement process progressing?
So we had our first meeting, and I have to tell you, this was really the cool thing about it. Do you know that it's a huge council. We have just a huge number of members. Every member was present either in person or by Zoom. And so everybody's been present, because we all know that it's a huge crisis for our state. And so there was a great deal of discussion about the application process and all of that. So we'll meet again next week, or week after next, to really work on some additional things in regards to that application, so we can get those applications out to people. And it was experts around the state from every sector, and then families who had also felt the impact of the opioid crisis firsthand. So I'm super excited about the work that we can do in this arena. And that was an impressive group of experts that were all committed to making sure we diminish this issue in our state.
It's an important issue for me, as well as you and I talked about last time. So I'll continue to talk with you about that as the funds continue to be dispersed. Nicole, it's great to see you. Thank you for your time.
You too. Have a good day.
Mornings with Richard Cross continues. We'll let you know how the tropical wave is impacting southern Mississippi and the entire state. A lot of rain over the next couple of days continued to be expected. Harrison County's Director of Emergency Management joins us next on Super Talk Mississippi.
From the Seabrook.
Richard Cross is brought to you by Covington County Hospital in Collins, where your health matters.
Hey, how's it going, man?
The news you need.
Every 10, 15 minutes, there's something.
The talk you love.
They really talk about the things that matter. I'm into all that stuff.
Mornings with Richard Cross. Super Talk Mississippi.
Go all night, get real hot.
Cars bringing us back in on SuperTalk Mississippi. I'm Scott Sands in for Richard Cross, along with Lance. Streaming everywhere at supertalk.fm. Some great comments on the C Spire text line at 601-879-4395. We're joined now by Matt Stratton. He's Director of Emergency Management, Harrison County on the coast, where we were expecting a little bit more of a rain event. You're getting wet. In fact, all of the state will get a lot of this rain from this, I guess, technically a tropical wave, Invest 93L, if I'm getting that correct?
That's right. We've been monitoring the Invest 93L through the week. Fortunately, the Hurricane Center took that down to a 0% chance of development last night. And so now we're just monitoring the rain after that event.
So how much rain are you expected to get along the coast, and what kind of impact will that have?
So across the coast, we've had around 3 inches of rain over the last few days, and we're still under the flood watch for the rest of Friday. There could be another inch or so possible, but it's going to be a wave here or there. It's not continuous rainfall, and while we are under the flood watch, we do need to continue to monitor the situation.
So that's really good news, because we know how easy the coast does flood. I've been caught in several flooding situations around the bayous.
Yeah, that's right. While we're under this flood watch, we do encourage people to continue to monitor the situation. Make sure you've got your emergency notifications set up. If you don't already, you can check that on your devices under the notifications settings. Make sure that you've got wireless emergency alerts turned on.
Yeah, so any roads closed so far?
No, we are continuing to monitor that, but the heaviest rainfall that we had was back on Wednesday night. Since then, there haven't been any roads affected, but our road crews continue to monitor the situation. And of course, if anybody does encounter any barricades, be sure to mind those and take another route.
Yeah, don't drive around the barricade to get where you're going. Find a different way around.
That's correct. The barricades, any of the signage is there for your safety, and you want to make sure that you're following the guidance that's posted.
We're really early in the beginning of this season of hurricane season, and I want to talk about preparing for that and being ready for when a big storm does approach the coast. But there's been so much attention on floods over the last few weeks, the tragedy in Texas, what's happened in North Carolina, what's happened in other parts of the country, that I think people are perhaps now more aware of the dangers of these flash floods than maybe we have been in the past.
Yeah, flash flooding is a serious issue, and it can happen almost anywhere. Certainly what happened in Texas was along the riverbanks, where they saw a drastic change in a short amount of time. But flash flooding doesn't have to be along the river. It can happen anywhere where that intense rainfall just cannot drain as fast as it's accumulating. And so starting with your ditches, your low spots, and then progressing from there, any paved surface obviously can't drain into the ground there. And so you'll get ponding on streets, parking lots, other areas as well.
And it doesn't take a lot of that ponding effect to cause problems when you're driving. And sometimes people don't realize how dangerous the running water across the street can be. It can literally wash away a vehicle before you're aware of it, because the friction with your tires is easily erased by running water.
That's right. Studies have shown that it doesn't take very much water at all for the car to start losing contact with the road. Really, the best rule of thumb is if you cannot see the bottom of that water, don't drive into it. Find another way around. The Weather Service has their campaign, says turn around, don't drown, and that is absolutely correct.
We're talking to Matt Stratton, Director of Emergency Management in Harrison County. How much rain does it take to really cause you problems on the coast?
Well, each area is different, and so what I'm used to here in Harrison County may be slightly different in other parts of the state, but the Weather Service for each area, the local office has their guidelines where they will put out first a flood advisory, and then if it looks like this is going to get really serious, we'll go into the watch, and then they'll progress to a warning or an emergency. And that's why it's really key that everybody's got those emergency alerts turned on in their devices. It's easy to turn off the notifications through your device without even realizing it. So we do encourage everyone to go in and check. When there is danger, the Weather Service does a great job of getting the word out. But if your device is not configured to receive it, you may not get the word that there's a dangerous situation.
How effective are these alerts, and how precise can you be with them? We get flash flood advisories and flash flood watches all the time, and unfortunately they're often ignored, and then we'll see a warning come through. And unless you've been in an area that you know is prone to flooding, you're also likely to ignore it. Is the prediction team able to become more precise with the areas that actually might be in danger of an impact? And have you developed new warning systems? I know after the Texas tragedy, there's talk about developing a warning system, a siren system similar to what we have for tornadoes.
Yeah, that's correct. The technology has really advanced over the last several years and allowed more precise forecasting and alerts, both. Several years back, you think back to the emergency alert system on your TV or radio, and yes, that's absolutely still a piece of the puzzle. But through wireless emergency alert system now, specific to an area around a cell tower, the alerts can be pushed to just a very small geographic area. And so we're trying to not overwarn people that are not in the danger area, but the warnings are there for your safety. If you receive an alert, if you receive a warning, that is your notice. It is time to pay attention and make sure that you and your loved ones are safe.
Obviously, the coast is rebuilt differently after Katrina, but is there any other structural engineering that could be done to mitigate some of the flood, especially in the flood-prone areas, to divert some of the water that might come in?
Yeah, so the building codes in Mississippi are handled at the local level. So I would encourage people to talk to your local officials at the city or the county. Find out about your building codes and what your local elected leaders have adopted. It is not a one-size-fits-all approach across the state or the country, but building codes are an important part of trying to avoid future damages, future disasters, trying to keep our buildings safe. But there is a cost to reinforcement and stronger standards.
Now, we've got, 3 or 4 months remaining in hurricane season. How are you prepared along the coast in Harrison County? What do you recommend people along the coast do to put together their plan, to evacuate if necessary, to make sure that they're ready for when that big storm does head our way?
Yeah, there is still a lot of hurricane season left to go. And so it's not too late to prepare if you haven't already. We do recommend you consider a plan for you and your household members. Make sure everybody's on the same page and knows what that plan is, and then go ahead and follow it when you get word that there is a dangerous situation developing. You want to make sure you've got your emergency notifications both on your devices and you've got a backup means. We really recommend a NOAA weather radio. That's a great, relatively inexpensive backup that doesn't care if it's getting cell service or if it is charged as far as the battery is concerned. NOAA weather radio is a backup that we really recommend here in Harrison County. And then when you do get word that something dangerous is developing, that is the time to act. Implement your plan. Make sure that you're taking care of your household members. Check on your neighbors and follow the guidance of your local officials.
Yeah, part of the plan, I didn't see this on the EMA checklist, is not filling your bathtub with beer and ice. That was not part of the plan that I remember seeing, but it's what a lot of people do to get ready.
Well, you do want to make sure that you stay properly hydrated,
right?
But we do recommend
the beer doesn't
probably.
It isn't part of that plan.
Correct.
Matt, before we're out of time here, let's just wrap up with a quick recap of what you're expecting from Invest 93L. Is there the possibility that we'll see more rain than is forecast? What are you expecting over the next 24, 48 hours?
Yeah, so over the 3 coastal counties and on into Louisiana, we are still under the flood watch through the rest of Friday. We are in a slight risk for the potential flash flooding today. That's going to ease up to just marginal tomorrow. Still another chance of rain on Saturday, but I think the flooding risk is on the decrease from this point forward, and we're very glad for that. Continue to monitor, and if you do receive any kind of emergency notification, that is for your safety. It's time to act.
Yeah, it's good news, but that doesn't mean that we're out of danger in this hurricane season. The tropics have a way of creeping up unexpectedly and sometimes quickly. So stay informed. We'll have all of the information here on SuperTalk Mississippi and at supertalk.fm. Matt Stratton, Director of Emergency Management, Harrison County. Thank you for your time, and stay safe.
Thank you. Have a great weekend.
Thanks, man. Also, this really isn't directly on the coast, but it is the beginning Sunday of Shark Week. We'll talk to the head of the Center for Fisheries Research and Development at USM about sharks. Next hour, right after 8 o'clock here on Super Talk Mississippi. I love talking about sharks. I don't know if you're a big fan of Shark Week on the Discovery Channel, but I look forward to it every year. That's coming up here on Super Talk Mississippi Mornings with Richard Cross. I'm Scott Sands.
From the Bendable Glass Trap.
Coffee, conversations, and clarity. What a great way to start your Mississippi day. Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk Mississippi.
Scott Sands in for Richard Cross. Super Talk Mississippi, streaming everywhere at supertalk.fm. C-Spire text line open at 601-879-4395. And you can find me on X at Scott Sands Media. Lance, I don't know if you watch as much cable news as I do, but several networks have had kind of this ongoing fixation with President Trump's bruised hands and his swollen feet and enlarged ego. I kid about the last thing. I don't know if you've seen the somewhat kid.
Well, it's funny because, with Joe Biden, everything.
It's fine to have an enlarged ego.
Yeah, big egos are great. But, with the Joe Biden thing, for years, no, he's fine. But Trump has a bruised hand from shaking hands, and, everybody is overly worried about that,
But, the guy is 79. We should be somewhat concerned. I think it's a legitimate question to ask about his health. Yesterday, Caroline Leavitt, press secretary, announced that President Trump has been diagnosed with chronic venous insufficiency, which, from what I've been told by my doctor friends, is far less serious than it may sound. It sounds like a pretty big deal. Trump's doctor called it benign and common, particularly among adults above age 70. Caroline Leavitt said that President Trump is not experiencing any pain and is in overall excellent health, and that the physician's report would be released, and it actually was. Sometimes when politicians say they'll release documents, they actually do. And they released the report last night. If you're curious, I asked, chronic venous insufficiency, or CVI, is a circulatory condition where the veins in the leg have difficulty returning blood back to the heart due to damaged valves. And it could back up and pool if it doesn't move like it's supposed to, and cause some swelling around the ankles and legs. It should not require surgery or other procedures, but he might have to wear compression socks, elastic wraps, or, like we all should, get out and exercise more. By the way, I'm a big fan of compression socks. Is that a sign I'm getting old? I've discovered that they're quite comforting at times. Have you worn compression socks probably playing sports?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, I always liked the soccer style socks, the long ones, and that come up to about your knee, the Adidas kind of type. My dad wears them a good bit. He swears by them now. He'd had some health issues as you get up in your upper 70s. Stuff doesn't want to function correctly sometimes. And Trump is
not wear those with shorts and sandals.
Yeah, you can, but it's not a fashion. It's not a fashion statement other than a negative. But yeah, at that age, you get your blood vessels get a little hard, your skin gets a little thin, and that's just the way it is as you age. And so.
And
I just found it interesting.
Bruising on his hands.
Yeah, I just found it
President
interesting.
Trump does shake a lot of hands.
Oh man, he's all over it. And but again, it's just to me is the lack of care for years with the health of a president. Now you've got a microscope on a bruised hand,
right?
So it's just it's the way it is.
Weird how that works.
Yeah, sometimes. It is. It's kind of odd there, but he's working at a pace too that I don't think many presidents have been able to accomplish, and then at his age. With all of the things
the man never sleeps.
Yeah. I don't know what he does and how he does it, but like CC, his McDonald's diet may be catching up with him.
Might be time to cut out the Big Macs.
Yeah, Big Mac. Yeah.
Maybe cut back on the Diet Cokes.
We'll have a big Trump, and it'll be like a grass burger.
I had my first soda in a long time yesterday at lunch. It was delicious, I might add, maybe because I haven't had one for a while, but very excited that basically we've made Mexican Coke great again. This week, the cane sugar announcement from Coca-Cola as part of the Maha movement to use a lot of sugar in a soda. I don't know how that jives, but it was a big announcement from the president that he had worked out a deal with Coke to return cane sugar, and I kept replying to tweets on X that the only thing that makes that better is the real cane sugar Coca-Cola in a glass bottle with a few salted peanuts in there.
Well, the real Coke is a good one, as they called it, the Mexican Coke, and I think we'll be renaming that the American Coke. But with what Kennedy has been doing, I think we had 35% of companies out there that put dyes in food have decided to go with the removal of that. So, we're making some headway with these dyes and the red dye especially. Now you're seeing a kind of removal of some of these synthetics as far as sugars and going to a real cane sugar. And, he's making some impacts. It's one of the stories that we're not hearing a lot about, but I do think that
it's a huge step.
Definitely making some steps there to get America healthy and eating a little better.
I certainly, since I've been eating clean for the last year and a half and dropped 100 pounds, I can tell you I have never felt better in my life. I think that it may sound silly, and it's not something I had ever been concerned about before, but I've noticed a difference in the last year, and it takes a while for those toxins to get out of your system. But there's certainly a difference that you'll feel in your body and get healthy along the way. A new law in Mississippi that requires age verification for users of social media can take effect. I'll tell you about that next hour. Plus, we'll talk about sharks with Jill Hendon from USM right after the top of the hour here on Super Talk Mississippi.
And then we'll take it higher. Working so hard like a soldier. Can't afford a thing on TV. Deep in my heart I abhor ya. Can't get food for them kids. Good God, we gonna rock down to Electric Avenue. And then we'll take it higher. Oh, we gonna rock down to Electric Avenue.
You're waking up to what matters. Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk Mississippi.
I don't see you guys rating the kind of mate I'm contemplating. I'd let you watch, I would invite you, but the queens we use would not excite you. So you better go back.
Murray Head, in the 80s music recording lamps.
You knew that one, yeah.
Scott Sanson for Richard Cross on Super Talk Mississippi, streaming everywhere at supertalk.fm. How y'all doing? It's one of my favorite weeks on TV. It's Shark Week, beginning Sunday on the Discovery Channel. I think I've seen some of the show. Expedition Unknown is going to do something with sharks. I think there's going to be a Dancing with the Sharks, hosted by Tom Bergeron from Dancing with the Stars one of the nights. It's what I love having it on. I
hope that they do another Jackass. Yeah, I hope they do another Jackass Shark Week, like number 3. I think they've done 2, and they're absolutely hilarious. Those guys are crazy.
I'm not messing with sharks.
No.
We're in their world. I don't think that I want to piss off a shark. That's just me.
And when they smile at you, they're
Jaws
serious.
Too many times. Right. Dr. Jill Hendon is joining us now. She's director of USM's Center for Fisheries Research and Development. Dr. Hendon, it's great to meet you.
Hello. Thank you for having me this morning.
Sharks fascinate me, and they also terrify me. I had probably an unnecessary fear of being bitten by a shark swimming around Ship Island.
I think we've all had that fear. I think we can all relate.
What sharks are we likely to encounter along the coast in the Gulf of America?
Yes. So, well, just here in Mississippi waters, we have some of the greatest diversity in all of the Gulf of Mexico. There are about 9 species that typically hang out regularly in the Mississippi Sound and the surrounding barrier islands, but there are many that inhabit the Gulf of Mexico as a whole.
So
Gulf of
what
America.
species should we be most concerned about?
So the most prominent in our region is going to be the Atlantic sharp-nosed shark. This shark only gets to be about 3 feet long, so it's one of the smaller species. But you're also typically going to encounter black tips, spinners, bull sharks, things like that. And then as we move a little bit further off, we start to get the hammerheads, the great hammerhead, the scalloped hammerhead, bonnet head. We get tiger sharks, black nose, fine tooth. We've got quite a few that like to hang out in our waters. They feel safe here.
Do any of the great whites ever come into the Gulf from the Atlantic?
Yes, we absolutely do get great whites. They typically stay a little bit further offshore. They're primarily considered to be associated with cooler waters. And so you're going to find them a little bit deeper. And, you know, because they're an apex predator, they've got a pretty hefty diet that they have to sustain. So there's not going to be many of them in a particular area just because the environment can't handle that food load. And we don't really have the kind of food that they eat. They're eating a lot of mammals and things like that, large-bodied animals. But they'll traverse through for sure.
So I've always heard from shark experts that we shouldn't be afraid of sharks, that they're as afraid of us as we are of them. Is that true? I mean, we've heard that most of these shark bite incidents are just sharks that mistake you for food, and once they take a bite out of you, they're done with you because you're not you're not on their food chain.
Yeah, that's absolutely correct, and you've really hit all the high points. So I think we all have a natural fear of them just because we're in their environment and it's unknown what's going on under the waters. But, you know, they want to avoid being harmed just as much as we do. And so as long as you're being smart and you are in the water without bait in your pocket, if you're wade fishing, you've got a long stringer instead of a short stringer.
I'm not going off Ship Island with a bunch of bait in my pocket. That just seems silly.
That's right. Well, people do. But as long as you're minimizing their curiosity and minimizing their confusion, you know, you're going to be fine. It is true that sharks have really heightened senses. You know, they are able to sense a drop of blood in, say, an Olympic-sized pool of water. It doesn't mean they want to go into a feeding frenzy, though.
But they will if there's a lot of blood, a lot of chum in the water. I see these videos on social media all the time of I'm going to call them idiots who are out swimming with sharks, and a shark will come up to them and they'll just either punch it in the nose or gently redirect its swimming. Or some of these crazy people are like tickling their necks. I mean, that doesn't seem like wise behavior.
Well, yeah, you're definitely putting yourself in a vulnerable place, and those people have probably had a lot of experiences and have gleaned a lot of knowledge about shark behavior, and so are looking for some of the additional signs that might show that they're getting agitated, such as agonistic displays, which is where they will drop their pectoral fins or hunch their back, and that's giving you a warning that, you know, they're not happy and you should move out of the area. So as long as they're not seeing that, they can kind of redirect, as you mentioned.
So, I mean, what should you do if you're scuba diving off the coast in the Gulf and you encounter a shark? And what would you recommend for just people who are having fun along the coast and the beach or off Ship Island?
Yeah, so definitely if you're diving and you're underwater and you can see the fish, you just got to keep your eye on it, keep your distance, let it do its own thing and stay off. If you're swimming and you see a fin or a shark in the area, again, I would just move out of the way. I would not panic. I would swim away, keep your eye on it, and you know, you're going to be just fine.
Don't splash around. Don't act like food. Things like that. Be careful swimming at dusk and early in the morning. Don't try to catch it. Don't play with it. Don't pet it like some of these people do. Dr. Jill Hendon from USM. Sharks, I think so many times, and this is what I've learned from watching Shark Week on Discovery, is that they're misunderstood because of the fear, in part created by movies like Jaws, but they play a very important role in the ecosystem and maintaining our coastal ecosystem.
Yeah, they are very important in our entire environment here. And what they're going to do is they're going to feed on the most abundant prey items present. And what that does is it keeps population numbers in check, which allows us to have greater diversity in our waters. They also typically feed on dead and dying organisms. So they're kind of removing those things that can harbor bacteria and create negative environments, microenvironments. They're removing them from our ecosystem to help us maintain a clean environment. So having them really keeps that balance in place.
So I'm also fascinated on all of the Shark Week shows by how many sharks are being tracked. How much of that research are you doing at USM? Have you been able to learn anything about shark movement patterns in the Gulf from whatever tagging efforts that you've done with USM?
Yeah, we do a lot of monitoring of shark movements specifically. We've done a lot with bull sharks in our local waters. We've done blacktip, we've done spinners, hammerheads, and the big species that we've been working on for the last 20 years is the whale shark. And so a lot of people don't realize that we have whale sharks in our offshore waters. It is the largest fish in the ocean, and we know very little about them. So we are still in an active tagging scenario with them. We used to find them predominantly off of Ewing Bank of Louisiana, and we're now finding that we're seeing them more frequently over on the eastern portion of the Gulf of America off of Florida waters. And so we're trying to understand some of their dynamics and why these shifts might be occurring.
And these are really gentle giants of the sea, correct?
Yeah, they're not those toothy sharks that we were talking about a moment ago. They are actually filter feeders, and all the largest animals on our planet are going to be eating low on the food chain. So it makes sense that the whale shark is also one of those and is feeding on those planktonic animals. It's got to constantly feed to maintain that body size.
What other research are you doing, is USM conducting in the Gulf on sharks and the fisheries?
Yeah, so because we are a fisheries unit, the science that we do is going to be centered around management. What does management need to effectively make limits that help create a sustainable environment for these different species? So the work that we do is going to be a lot of population studies. We're out there with different gear types, just seeing what species are present, what sizes, what sexes. We do life history studies, which is age, growth, reproduction, diet, because those are all the factors you need to know to predict populations in the future. And then we do a lot of movement studies, as you mentioned.
Dr. Jill Hendon from USM, the Center of Fisheries Research and Development. It's great to have you on. Are you going to watch Shark Week at all?
So I'll probably catch a little bit of it, but what I'll throw out there is that we hope all of you are able to join us for Shark Weekend at our Mississippi Aquarium. We will be there on July 26th and 27th, really featuring all things sharks, and we would love to chat with all of you shark lovers out there.
And the Mississippi Aquarium is great. Dr. Hendon, thank you for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me. Have a good day.
You too. Shark Week Sunday on Discovery if you're into that. C-Spire text line open at 601-879-4395. Scott Sands in for Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi.
From the Venable Glass.
Reaching across the state and across the aisle. Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk, Mississippi.
did I hear you tell Dr. Hendon off air that you've caught a shark when you were out deep sea fishing?
Oh yeah, a bunch of those things. They're not fun. Really? It's like catching a gar that is much more aggravated and much more deadly. Right. So yeah, they are.
It seems like an exciting experience, also a frightening experience.
We had a fun time once. We were out like on a way out and past the islands, and don't do this at home, but we were in like a single engine like 16-footer. There's like 5 or 6 of us.
I'm gonna tell you the story, but don't do what I did.
Yeah, so we go all the way out as far as you can pretty much go with the gas we had. We had camped on the islands that night, and it took us all day to get there. But we left out of like Gulfport, Pascagoula, ended up hitting Chandeleur Island because the captain did not want to turn on the GPS. So we went way out of the way, ended up getting to where we were going, set up camp after swimming in, got up the next morning, headed out way out into the Gulf of America, and got out there. And we had left the chum line out, because we were had a bag of guts and everything. And so I remember diving off the boat and swimming around out there, having a big time,
That's dumb.
We forgot. Yeah, I didn't know the chum line was still out, and you look down and there's all these little things, 60, 70 feet below you, and they're shining. The light's hitting them like a spinner bait, and you're like, "Oh, that's pretty down there." And then somebody says, "Hey, those are sharks." You're sitting there in about 30, swimming in about 30 sharks in a chum line, guts all in the water and everything. She says like one drop of blood in an Olympic-sized pool. Yeah, we'd probably drug sharks with us for 30 miles, So by the time we stopped. We had a nice plethora of piñatas, El Guapo. I mean, it was sharks everywhere. And so I finally was like, all right, I'm going to not splash around. I'm going to get out of this, and got out of there without a
calmly leave the water.
Yeah, calmly leave the water. Then we get back to the island, and a squall comes blowing through. And by the time we got back to the island, everything we owned and had taken there, everything blown off. And so we anchor and swim back in the lightning and everything. And sat there for about 4 or 5 hours, and the only thing we had left was beer. And so we sat there with a cooler full of beer under a little live oak tree in the middle of whichever island it was, and rode it out until the storm left. So didn't catch many fish that time, and had a good time, though. But, yeah, that's generally the type of experiences I would have when going out deep sea fish. Something crazy would always happen.
I am not going on a boat with you. Mental note
I will
made.
say, make sure you have 2 engines. So, we were fairly adventurous and would go out pretty far with the 1 engine. And we'd every now and again a boat would pass us and look at us like, you guys are crazy being out this far with 1 engine. But yeah, and then the bilge pump broke on the way back.
Pass.
So we had to.
Hard pass.
It took about 3 hours to go 11 miles.
I'm finding a different captain next time I go out.
This was not he was not a professional captain, but he had the boat and he knew where the fish were.
No, it doesn't sound like it was. It doesn't sound like it was a professional captain.
Yeah, we were out there so long, we had to basically tie him up to the seat because we were so exhausted just getting back to shore after that day. And we started, way early the day before. So getting back to shore with a broken bilge pump. It took forever. So he was passing out, literally standing there at the wheel. So we had to kind of bungee strap him to the chair because he had fallen a few times. So we caught him. So, yeah, I mean, it was a long 24 hours there. That was one for the ages.
Ricky Matthews Show and Middays with Gerard are at the Mississippi Municipal League's annual conference at the Coast Coliseum in Biloxi. This is a big annual event that brings the city and county leaders together from across the state to look forward to the future of the Magnolia State. That's Tuesday on SuperTalk Mississippi and supertalk.fm. I mentioned this at the end of the last hour. A new law can go into effect after a federal court ruling yesterday, but there's still going to be a court fight over this. A 3-judge panel of the Fifth Circuit removed a block that a district judge last year put on the Walker-Montgomery Protecting Children Act. Lance, if you're familiar with this, this came about after a sextortion scheme on Instagram involving a 16-year-old Mississippian. This law was enacted to protect kids and requires that minors must have the permission of a parent or guardian to have a social media account. And it also requires that the digital service providers make commercially reasonable efforts to verify user ages. I think that it's great that we protect kids and probably need to protect a lot of adults, including CEOs who go to a Coldplay concert, from what's happening on social media today. But I don't know how effective these kind of laws will be. I think sometimes technology is so far ahead of legislation that legislators and Congress is constantly trying to keep up with the advancements in technology. And kids want to be on social media because all of their friends are. I just don't know in practicality how companies like Facebook or X or Instagram and Snapchat will be able to enforce this moving forward, because I guarantee you the kids have already figured out a way around it in most of these cases.
Don't worry not, my friend. Palantir will be there for everybody. Whether it's Facebook or X or anybody, it'll tell you who's legit, who's not. Looking forward to those days.
Some states have begun to require, and I also have a problem with this, not because I'm a fan of going to these sites, but are going to require, and I haven't seen anything in Mississippi yet, maybe I've missed it, that I know Ohio is trying to pass a law that will require you to upload your driver's license to access adult sites like Pornhub, which...
So now, not only do they have your driver's license, your picture, your driver's license number, and all of your pertinent information for a porn site,
they know
sounds
what you're
very
into.
healthy. Yeah,
they're going to know what your proclivities are.
Oh goodness, man! What could go wrong here?
What could possibly go wrong with sharing that information? So in response, in the states that are talking about this, and I think there have been, I don't know, a handful of states that have already passed legislation like this. The porn sites are just shutting down and blocking their content from those states in response. First of all, they know what adult is going to upload their driver's license to access Pornhub?
Well, dumb and desperate ones, I suppose. But yeah, I mean that's. Must be a lot of people willing to do it if they're suggesting, because they obviously have data that says people will do this because they want to hit that porn. Yeah, pretty tough. That's an addiction.
It is. It can be an addiction, but it's also, I think it's a violation of First Amendment rights. Along the way.
I would have to say the Palantir deal's a total violation of every right. But
all of our privacy. Look, I don't care what you're into in the privacy of your own home. If you're going to cheat on your spouse at a Coldplay concert, you deserve to get caught. But if you're going to surf around in the middle of the night, hey, you do you.
I can only imagine what box will show up on Monday morning after a night on Pornhub with you've given them your driver's license. You show up back, to the house after work, and there's a nondescript big cardboard box, and you're going, I didn't order anything. It has Temu on it, It's like fun for the whole family here. I don't even want to open this. I'm scared. No.
The other story that caught my attention this week from Jackson, the police chief Joseph Wade urged the Jackson City Council to ban ski masks in public. We don't get a lot of cold weather in Jackson. We don't get a lot of ice. It does get chilly, but
the skate park, the snow. We have the new mountain here with the slopes and rental snowboards and skis and all that. So you got to be able to wear your mask. I mean, why wouldn't you allow people to wear masks running around a town with a murder rate that's outrageous?
And I think that's his point, is that he's just looking for some sort of ordinance in the city so people aren't just walking around with ski masks on.
Well, which
I
respect
to
Joseph
me
Wade
that would be a
immensely.
red flag to begin with. If you see a group of guys or women or whomever walking around with ski masks on, and you're the police, you might want to stop to ask what's going on.
Yeah, well, you're invading my privacy. Okay. But no, I'm with you. I have immense respect for Joseph Wade, the chief. They work extremely hard. He's a smart guy, and he's looking for the best ways to reduce crime here. I mean, that's it. And that would be one right there. I mean, I'm not going to go stop at a gas station with people wearing masks.
No,
period. I'm not walking next to somebody wearing a ski mask. I'll go across the street
in the middle of July.
Yeah.
If you're a business owner and somebody walks into your place with a ski mask,
I'd tell him to leave.
you're going to be terrified. Well,
or I'd have my gun on them.
Yeah, you're going to be terrified at that point. So there's a legitimate concern, but the police should already have the authority to stop, and especially in a state like Mississippi where there's not really a frequent need to wear ski masks.
The slopes are not packed.
To ask, hey, what's happening here? What you got the ski mask on in the middle of July? It sounds like common sense to me, but I'm sure there will be issues. And the irony is, just like 5 years ago, the council was probably requiring people to wear masks to walk into a business. Michelle Pollino joins us from Hollywood next. It's Super Talk Mississippi Mornings with Richard Cross. I'm Scott Sands.
From the Seabird Panel. Mornings with Richard Cross. What's up?
Let's get the show going.
Super Talk Mississippi.
Hey there, how y'all doing? Scott Sands in for Richard Cross, streaming everywhere at supertalk.fm. On X, you can find me at Scott Sands Media. I have never been caught on the Jumbotron with her at a Coldplay concert, but Michelle Pollino joins us from Hollywood. Michelle, it's great to see you.
It's the best story.
I talked about this at the beginning of the show. This is unified the country behind Coldplay cheating CEO memes over the last 48 hours.
So,
I love this story.
The story's the best. It turns out they're both married to other people. As Chris Martin should have never said that. It was just like, it's so yeah, they were caught on the kiss cam hugging and with his arms wrapped around her. He's
very cozy.
She's very cozy, very much in love. Camera caught them. She's the HR director, the people director of his company. They're both married to other people. And wow. So the wife, did you hear this about the wife taking down her changing her name, her last name on Facebook?
Changed her name.
I smell a lot.
Everybody's locked out of it.
Yeah.
Look, if that couple had just let it go, this never would have been a big story. If the guy hadn't ducked down, if she hadn't turned away, nobody would have ever known. They could still be having their affair and be perfectly content.
Right.
But they made a big deal of it. And
yeah.
in other words, nobody would have ever known.
But guilty.
But hear me out on this.
Guilty is as guilty does.
Epstein released the Epstein list on the Jumbotron at a Coldplay concert.
Oh my God, that's the deal. That's the next thing. I think they have to release the files at this point, or Trump is just going on a rampage this morning. Like his tweets are.
This has never been a priority for me, but I want to see justice for the young girls who are victims of all these men. I don't care if they're Republican, Democrat, what company they may run, what leader they may be. The girls who are victims of this exploitation deserve justice, and I think we demanded some transparency and accountability out of the Trump administration. And this whole thing has been fumbled, just mishandled. So we may see more information today.
Yeah, this has been mishandled. My hope too. It's truly been mishandled. I mean, he just sent out really an insane couple of tweets saying, first of all, that he hopes, I got to get the right tweet. I look forward to getting Rupert Murdoch to testify in my lawsuit against him and his pile of garbage newspaper, the Wall Street Journal.
That story is crazy. Yeah, the whole doodle note to Epstein story is crazy. And show us the evidence. If it's real, show us the letter, which they didn't do.
And I'm sorry, Donald Trump is the most investigated man in history, the most investigated. If they had something on him and they had the files, it would have been out by now.
It would have come out. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Your thoughts on Stephen Colbert and Late Show getting canceled?
I am I'm looking forward to celebrating tonight and doing a hypodermic needle dance in celebration of this guy's
the vaccine dance. Yeah,
right. The vaccine dance. Like who? Can I ask you something? Like, do you think it was part of the deal, the lawsuits deal? I think it was
with Paramount. Paramount
Yeah.
settled $16 million with the Trump administration over the 60 Minutes story. I doubt it. I just think that the audiences for late nights have declined to the point where it's no longer financially feasible to continue to produce all of these shows. I mean, I talked about this earlier.
and pay
Two and a
him
half
like
million people
yeah.
watch. Yeah. It's an expensive
Yeah.
show to produce. There are like 200 people who work on this show, and I hate to see 200 people lose jobs in the media industry, but they'll break even or make money by running movie reruns at night from the Paramount library instead of producing the Late Show. And I was a huge Letterman fan. I still enjoy the occasional talk show. I think they've got their place, but having one on every network in the same time slot probably just does not make sense, because the younger audience they were shooting for with Late Show has gone to the streaming services for their entertainment.
Yeah, nobody watches it. I don't think people really truly understand that nobody watches it. We live in so many different bubbles. It's just ridiculous that, the AP, their in their story, in their byline, it says, CBS is canceling the Late Show, removing from the air one of President Donald Trump's most prominent late night critics. They were all his late night. They're all
critics.
Right.
There are still
critics,
plenty of
and
critics in the
nobody
media
cares.
of Donald Trump. No.
Right. And that's why that's why nobody watches them, because they are critics of Donald Trump, because everybody voted for him. Like, get over yourselves, Hollywood and New York. Get with the program. It's just ridiculous that they would even put that in the byline.
It's and it's all just part of the narrative. What was the bigger story on social media this week, Michelle? Was it the Coldplay story and the CEO and the HR head getting caught in an affair, or was it Elmo's X account getting hacked by neo-Nazis?
Elmo. That grossed me out. That freaked me out. I think it was the Elmo incident where all of a sudden his X account was posting anti-Semitic rants, and again said something against President Trump. Tried to tie him into, I think it was another Epstein, right? I can't remember that one, but I saw the anti. It was really gross.
A lot of tweets before they could get control of the Elmo account back. Poor Elmo. Elmo doesn't
Poor Elmo
deserve
is
that.
right. He doesn't. He's just a hand puppet. He's a hand puppet for our love.
We're all just puppets sometimes. So this is the story that freaked me out, and I know you did a report on this on Fox News. The guy who travels around the country to all the Comic Cons and Fear Cons, or whatever they're called, carries the doll Annabelle around, died apparently mysteriously with the Annabelle doll. That's not a creepy story at all.
He's 56 years old. The Annabelle doll was not in the room with him, apparently.
Okay, that's
but
good.
was in the van. Was in the van, parked outside. Now, if a creepy, spirit-filled doll is left in the van, don't you think she'd be mad? I'd be mad.
I'd be upset.
I'd be
Maybe
upset.
want to exact a little revenge.
That's right. So yeah, the autopsy is still pending, but I want to see that one. That was really creepy. to hear that. He was only 56 years old and, croaked in his sleep. So I'm blaming it on the spirit-filled Annabelle doll. It's a life-size Raggedy Ann. It's scary looking.
And likely the plot of the next Annabelle movie, if I had to guess. The movie has written itself. If that's not the plot, they're missing the ball. And pay the family. Yeah. But that should be the plot. New movies opening this weekend for the kids. It's Smurfs. And for people who love the scary films, I Know What You Did Last Summer has been rebooted.
Yep, the reboots where we have Jennifer Love Hewitt and Freddie Prinze Jr. back again. This time they are adults. They're adults. And it's about, 5 friends who cause a deadly car accident. They cover it up. But somebody knows what they did.
So it's exactly it's the plot of the movie, the same plot?
Same plot, same thing.
That's disappointing.
Why ruin a good thing?
Come up with something new, Hollywood. Come on. What about the Smurfs movie for the kids? Is that a good one?
They're not going to. They're not going to because they're scared. They actually did come up with something good and original, and it's called Eddington. And it's about these 2 sheriffs, sheriff and a mayor, who squares off Pedro Pascal, Joaquin Phoenix. And they are basically, it's COVID, it's lockdown, and they're fighting for power in a small town. And it's a political thriller for sure. I haven't seen it. I've read about it. I found it to be an original script, so that's interesting. More interesting to me, Billy Joel. It's going to be on HBO Max, and so it goes. The documentary hits HBO Max tonight. I'm pretty excited for it.
Michelle Pollino in Hollywood, great to see you. Have a great weekend.
Have a great weekend, y'all.
Scott Sands in for Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi and SuperTalk.fm.
From the Venable Glass Trap.
Grab another cup of coffee and start your day right. Mornings with Richard Cross here on SuperTalk Mississippi.
What a nice 80s pick today, Talking Heads.
Oh, yeah.
Super Talk Mississippi. Scott Sands in for Richard Cross. Markets are open. They've been open for just over 20 minutes, and it looks like we're opening and heading down across the board. Dow is down about 100. NASDAQ is up 50, but headed down, which is not unexpected. All-time highs on the NASDAQ and S&P, which is essentially flat right now. But obviously something to watch. It's hard to remain at these. Of course, I've said this. It's hard to continue moving up when you continue to hit all-time highs every day, but every dip that we see is seemingly bought up quickly. Lance, I want to do one more look at the weather today because of the impact of this tropical wave, Invest 93L. We talked about it earlier today with the director of Harrison County's Emergency Management. Luckily, it's not strengthened and seems to be missing much of the state, but that doesn't mean there's not going to be a lot of rain, especially in southern Mississippi, and the potential remains for flooding in some areas. A flood watch remains in effect. But for the most part, over the next, 24, 48 hours, Lance, we'll see a lot of rain, which is good news in a way that it can cool the temperatures that we've had down a little bit.
The marine forecast for the Mississippi Sound indicates south to south winds about 15 knots. Could have seas of about 2 to 3 feet. So, there'll be a little rough out there, and chance of showers and thunderstorms really around midnight tonight, maybe some higher winds. So, as Matt was saying earlier, not out of the woods yet, but it does look a lot better as far as from the amount of rain that would have been pouring down. In the lowlands down there. So it looks better on the flooding side, but you still get some rain, some gusts, and a few little swells out there. So if you intend on going out fishing or something, just be a little careful out there.
I meant to mention this when I was giving you the market update from the Morning Bell, is this afternoon President Trump will sign the Genius Act into law, which is the first federal regulatory framework for cryptocurrency. I was watching XRP and Bitcoin earlier. There was a big short squeeze on XRP, which I think was up $2 or $3. I mean, it's still only like a $4 coin, but this could have some impact on not only crypto this week, but also as far as cryptocurrency could be regulated in the future. The House passed a couple of other crypto bills which need to be sent to the Senate to be signed. So that is something that, if you're into crypto at all, is something to watch and may move the markets at some point today. Did you and Richard talk about what's coming to Vegas this week? I think the story came out maybe on Wednesday.
I can't remember.
A new card game that you'll be, if you're a hardcore degenerate, man, you've got a problem if you're going to start gambling on the game Uno.
Oh, Lord. I mean, I did Casino War when I've been out to Vegas a couple of times. You know, that's always the high card, low card. I won enough
Right.
money to buy a Versace shirt. So, the
That's
simpler
not bad.
games, Uno, I can imagine that would be pretty much a hit immediately.
So the Uno Social Club is coming to Palms Casino Resort in Vegas. From what I could tell, this kind of sounds like it would be a temporary thing for select groups of, I don't know, Uno enthusiasts. I don't know how you bet on Uno, but I'm sure people can find a way.
Or is this focused on like the British tourists that, they're wanting to drop their voting age to 16? So is that like, when they come here to the U.S., I mean, does that allow them to gamble and drink and everything and play Uno in Vegas?
No, I don't.
Yeah, probably not.
I don't think it has an impact on that. Do you play Uno? Is that still like
I did
a
when I was
popular
a
family
kid.
game?
I think people still
Right,
play it that
right.
have families. I mean, I'm a solo act, so I don't play with the cats or the dog or anything. But I've seen, I know my sister and family, and they still have a deck, and my mom had a deck around forever to play with my niece. So I think it's still fairly popular.
Were you ever putting money on the Uno games?
I never was a big card person. I mean, even as a baseball player in college, it seemed like everybody played. They would all gather up and play cards, and I just never been a big card person, honestly. So I don't, never really got into Uno or any of the card games that big.
I enjoy playing poker. I'll play poker online, but I'm not sure I'm enough of a degenerate to even try to gamble on Uno. My bet, because Mattel, a big corporation, owns this, they're doing some pop-ups in New York and some other places too, is I'm guessing this is probably just a made-up stunt for social media hype and to try to get people like you to play a card game now and then.
Yeah. They're not going to get me to do it, but good luck. Innovation is always fun, and they're always looking to find ways to make more money.
Vegas is always looking for ways to take our money.
That's right. So I would imagine the odds are against you and in their pocket. So be careful playing Casino Uno.
I'm curious how it will work. That's going to wrap things up for me today. Richard Cross will be back on Monday. Have a great weekend. Be aware of any flood warnings that may pop up as the tropical wave passes through southern Mississippi. Have a great weekend. You can find me on X. I am at Scott Sands Media. Lance, thank you. Have a great weekend as well.
It's always a pleasure, brother. Look forward to seeing you Friday.
Yeah, talk to you next week.
SuperTalk Mississippi Media Production.